Jesus didn't cancel the Torah. Some say Jesus came to replace the Torah, but he said the opposite. Do not think I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. He taught it. He lived it. He quoted it. So who told you it was canceled? Not Jesus, not the apostles. The Torah isn't the problem. It's the foundation. If your faith cuts it out, you might be cutting out the very thing he stood on. Some say Jesus came to replace the Torah, that the commandments, the law of Moses, were only for a different time, a different people, and have no relevance today. This idea has become widespread in many circles of modern Christianity. The assumption is that the New Testament nullifies the Old, that grace cancels law, and that Jesus came to start something completely new, divorced from what came before. But this is not what we find when we examine the actual words and actions of Jesus. This misconception often arises from a misunderstanding of Paul's writings or from reading the Bible through a post-Reformation lens, rather than through the eyes of Jesus' original Jewish context. To understand the mission and message of Yeshua, or Jesus, we have to start where he started, with the Torah. Jesus' most direct statement on this issue is found in the Gospel of Matthew. Do not think that I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. Let's pause on that word, fulfill. Many assume it means bring to an end, but in its original Jewish context, to fulfill the Torah meant to live it out fully, to bring it to its true and complete meaning. Jesus didn't say the law was finished. He said he came to bring it to life, and that's exactly what he did. He clarified it. He deepened its meaning. He corrected misinterpretations. In the Sermon on the Mount, he repeatedly said, "You have heard it said, but I say to you," not to change the law, but to reveal its heart. Jesus didn't distance himself from the Torah. He embraced it. He lived by it. He taught it. He quoted it constantly. When tempted in the wilderness, he didn't argue with the enemy. He quoted Torah. It is written. When asked about the greatest commandment, he responded with the Shema from Deuteronomy 6 and the command to love your neighbor from Leviticus 19. He upheld Shabbat. He celebrated the feasts of Israel. He wore tzitzit, tassels, as the Torah commands. He taught in synagogues, not to rebel against the Torah, but to explain it. Even his conflict with religious leaders was not because he rejected the Torah, but because they were using it to control rather than to liberate. He exposed hypocrisy, not holiness. So where did the idea come from? That Jesus canceled the Torah? It wasn't from him. It wasn't from the apostles. It wasn't from the early believers, who were all Jewish and continued attending the temple and observing the feasts long after the resurrection. The separation between Jesus and Torah came centuries later as the church became increasingly Gentile and increasingly disconnected from its Jewish roots. Anti-Jewish sentiment in the Roman Empire, combined with political motives to distinguish Christianity from Judaism, led to a theological shift, one that painted the Torah as bondage and grace as freedom from it. But this wasn't the faith once delivered to the saints. The Torah was never the enemy. It was a gift, a covenant, a revelation of God's character and will. The psalmist called it perfect, reviving the soul. Yes, the Torah was given to Israel, but its principles reveal truths that are eternal: justice, mercy, holiness, love. The problem was never the Torah itself. It was how people misused it. Some turned it into a checklist for righteousness. Others used it to condemn. Some made it a fence so thick no one could see the heart of God behind it. Jesus came to restore that heart. He came to show that Torah is not a prison. It's a path, not a means of salvation, but a mirror that points us to our need for it. Jesus didn't come to tear down what Moses built. He came to complete it. He showed what obedience really looks like. Not outward rule following, but inward transformation. Not legalism, but love. He came not to throw Torah away, but to put it in its proper place. Not as a ladder to climb to God, but as a light to show us where we stand. He fulfilled the sacrificial system, not by canceling it, but by becoming the final sacrifice. He fulfilled the promise of a prophet like Moses, not by breaking covenant, but by renewing it. If your version of faith cuts out the Torah, you might be cutting out the very thing Jesus stood on. Jesus didn't cancel the Torah. He fulfilled it in every way, not by erasing it, but by embodying it. Every word he spoke, every action he took, was in alignment with the heart and truth of the Torah. He honored its commands not out of duty, but out of love. Love for the Father and love for his people. He showed that true obedience is not legalism, but faithfulness. Not fear, but relationship. He didn't minimize the Torah. He magnified its purpose, showing that every command, every feast, every teaching pointed to something greater, a restored relationship with God. And now he invites us to see the Torah through his eyes, not as a relic of the past, but as a foundation for understanding the gospel, to walk as he walked in both grace and truth, to see the continuity of God's plan from Moses to Messiah. The truth is still unfiltered, and it still stands on the Word of God, the whole Word.